Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we proudly present our spectacular show of podcast magic and imagination full of Disney wonder, news, and pop culture. It's the Main Street Electrical Podcast with Jenn Dave and David Dollar.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, Dave.
It's the Main Street Electrical Podcast. Welcome back. First of all, to the listeners, welcome back to episode number 167. And Jen, a warm welcome back to you after being gone for about a month and a half, and it feels like.
Oh, gosh.
Of course. We did a few episodes together. We were able to drop and release when you were gone, but you were in Iceland, you were in Norway, you were in Greenland, you were in the Arctic Circle, in Japan, in China, wherever you went on a cruise to the Caribbean. I don't know where you went. No, you guys were up in the North Atlantic. Did you venture into the Arctic Circle? Is that right?
We did. We actually sailed into the Arctic Circle, which was really awesome. Yeah.
That's pretty
crazy,
amazing.
But yeah.
I'm going to assume that's how you Disneyed last week because you were in the Arctic Circle on a Disney cruise.
Basically. Yeah.
Now we're going to have Kyla on because it was also part of that cruise.
Yeah.
By the way, for the listener, school starts tomorrow. My wife's at work downtown, so the background noise you hear is my kid. There's nothing I can do about it. He's happy. He's building his Lego monorail.
That's
Lego train.
awesome.
He's got a monorail going on. So I'm not going to stop him because he's happy. He's great. He's doing his own thing. He's just loud. So for the listener, a lot of you guys are probably parents, and you're probably going, "I get it. I understand. I totally understand."
Yeah. Hey,
and
he's
for
doing
Jen,
good.
Jen understands when she's at home and suddenly all of us travel agents are calling her about such inane things, and she's like, "Yes, background noise. I get it." So yeah. So we will talk in a few weeks though about your cruise. That's going to be an upcoming episode.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Not next week, however, because next week probably your final big travel, maybe of the season for a while. You're going to Costa Rica on an ABD trip.
Mm-hmm.
So
I sure am. Yep.
Very
so
cool.
it'll be a good time.
But I do have to ask you this about the cruise, and I know again we'll talk more in depth about the cruise later. But as far as because Kyla mentioned this, you were in an area where there was 24-hour days for a day or two there, right? Like you had no.
Yeah, it was almost 24-hour daylight, and I will tell you there was one time where Kyla had a balcony room next to mine, so we had our stateroom attendant open up the balconies. So we actually we called it party balcony, because everybody could come and enjoy it.
I can see that.
We had lots of friends during sail away. They would just come and stand on our balcony because there was plenty of room. So, like the one night it was seriously like 1 a.m. and we were all sitting outside on the balconies with like blankets because it was chilly and just like, it's not dark. This is so weird. It just kept saying, so like, strange. This is so weird.
Have you ever seen the movie Insomnia with Al Pacino and Robin Williams? For the listener, I don't recommend it necessarily. It's a great movie, but it's rated R. It's a hardcore film. But the whole thing is Robin Williams is the bad guy. Al Pacino is going up there to Alaska to retrieve him. And it's in that period of the 24-hour days where there's no nighttime for like 3 months on end. And the whole movie is just Pacino's kind of breakdown, not being able to handle the 20. I would love to experience that for a day or two just to say that I experienced it. I can't imagine doing that for months on end. That would be
not for months. It was like, I mean, there are blackout curtains. So like for sleeping, then that's fine. But literally it was like, we would leave dinner and it was like 10 o'clock.
Right.
And it's like,
so strange. So strange. Well, my Disneying this week for me is not nearly that exciting. Of course, my wife, my beautiful bride, was gone last week or the week before and last week, coming back last week to help rescue me on the trip that she was on. But it's been a lot of the kids going back to school tomorrow, like I said, which is really exciting. I got to see Haunted Mansion though. I did get to go to the movies for the first time in a very long time, and I understand that you saw it as well.
I did on the ship because, of course, Disney Cruise Line does first run movies.
Yes. That's
so.
When we were on our honeymoon, Steph and I, we got to see Miracle, the Kurt Russell film, the hockey team.
Yeah.
Like 3 days before it came out, they had started showing it on the in-room television stuff. So we watched Miracle. No, in the room, like the theater or whatever.
The theater,
actual theater itself. So we got to see Miracle like on a Wednesday or something, and it came out on Friday and whatever. So we'll get to Haunted Mansion towards the end of the show. We're going to kind of do a quick movie review overall, but Jen, we got a lot of news to get to because you haven't been here in a while. So let's just hop on some news. Well, first of all, let's talk about Minionland. We're going to talk about Universal first.
Yeah.
Minionland is now officially, well, it's not open yet. If you're listening to this on a Thursday, it opens tomorrow. It opens tomorrow on the 11th of August. Minionland with the new ride, the Villain Con, Villain. Hold on, let me find it here. I don't want to. It's
Illuminations Villain
That's right.
Con
Minion Blast.
That's
it. Yes. So August 11th, 2023 is when Minionland will open. Now it's kind of the front of the park. It's where the Shrek area was. So as you're walking through Universal Studios Florida, it's gonna be right there. There's a whole area opening up: the Minion Cafe, the bakery, the Bake My Day, the Freeze Ray Pops, there's the ice creams and things like that. The Pop Banana, the Marquee Dining location. Those are all that stuff there. The Illuminations Theater is going to have meet and greets with not only Minion characters but also Sing 2 characters, which is really strange. It's that's not a movie that I expected to be. I mean, they're good movies.
They're good movies. Seen them. I have actually.
But the characters,
the first one anyway.
It's not a movie that I'm like, people are clamoring for the characters, but I would go meet the hippopotamus and the koala if they're there. I have no idea. So, but the food looks really, really good. You're gonna have Mel's Meatball Mountain, Uncle Drew's belly filling pork sandwiches, Otto's Noodle Bowl, fluffy unicorn cupcakes, and all that. The Minion Blast, of course, is almost like a Toy Story Mania type ride.
Is a little bit is what it looks like.
Kind of. I haven't experienced it yet.
None of us have. So
exactly.
It'll be
it's gonna be cool
though to see. I did get to try the food though when I was at Universal at that conference. We had a little preview of the Minionland food.
Oh, how was it?
Actually, it was quite good. There were like cute little minion potato-y things that looked like the little minions. And then there were the mac and cheese was good. The you mentioned the sandwich, that was good.
Yep.
We also had the meatballs. I'd have to look and see we didn't have absolutely everything, but we had a lot of it, including some of the desserts. And we also had like banana flavored popcorn. So that was interesting. It was good.
Nice. Well, also Universal, they're opening up, not open yet. It's going to open sometime in 2024, Dreamworks Land. And this is going to encompass all the characters they don't have homes for right now. The Shrek character, the Kung Fu Panda characters, and things like that. According to BioReconstruct on Twitter, or X, which is a great follow. If you're on that site, follow this guy because some of the stuff he posts is amazing. I think he does a lot of drone work. I say he. It might be a she. I don't know. They do a lot of drone work. So they do a lot of aerial shots of lands and stuff. So a lot of times he'll post she will post maps and they'll have little numbers going. This is where this coaster is going to go, and this is where this is going to happen. That's the building here. They've done that with Epcot, with Moana's Journey of Water.
Journey of Water.
But right now it looks like the Shrek's house is being built. You'll be able to visit Shrek's house. The Woody Woodpecker coaster is going to be rethemed to something else, probably maybe a Kung Fu Panda type coaster or whatever. But that's coming along. That also will be in Universal Studios Florida, towards the back of the park, over there close to
it's near ET.
Exactly. Quasi producer Heather does not like ET, so we won't harp on that. But it's going to be over in that corner. So that's enough about the park down the street. Don't worry about that. The Food and Wine Festival has started at Disney World.
Which still blows my mind, honestly.
Well, actually, and it's starting a little bit later than I think last year started. Last year was like the 15th or 16th.
Yeah, last year
this time
was
the
like
27th.
Yeah.
And maybe, I don't know if it was because it was 2022, which is coming off the heels of 2021 last year.
Right.
The masks were gone and a lot of the restrictions were gone. So people were people were flocking to the parks over the course of the summer. I don't know. Maybe they were going to kind of pull it back some as well. But Food and Wine Festival also blowing your mind. The first Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party is opening up on the 11th, which again is tomorrow.
It's so funny because like last week on the cruise, we did have some internet, like a little bit, like enough to like post or whatever. And Brady's like, but Disney's already decorated. He's like, it's like Halloween. I was like, yeah, it's August. And he's like, it's just so early. I'm like, every year.
Yes, and to give you an update on the actual tickets themselves, which of course your favorite Upon a Star travel agent, pick me, or Jen, can get your tickets for you. But those tickets are starting to sell out here and there. They're not sold out completely, and I think it will be a little while before everything sells out.
Yeah, I agree.
But I do think they will sell out because most of August has already sold out. I'll give you the dates here real quick. As of right now, at this moment, when we're recording, the 11th is sold out. So the first night, tomorrow night, is gone. The 15th and 18th, the 22nd, 25th, the first 5 nights of the party are gone. So those are all gone. If you want to go in August, the 29th is available. And then, of course, September 1st. All the September dates are still available except for September 15th. So you still have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. You still have 12 opportunities in September to go. For October, the 31st is still sold out. So that date is gone. But you still have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. You have like 16 opportunities to go in October. But I'll tell you, I'm actually starting to sell tickets now because the dining is done 60 days ahead of time.
Right.
I've done dining for a couple of families already for their early October trips. And they're buying their tickets now because I think a lot of people are basing on like, okay, can we get our Space 220 and our Cinderella Royal Table? Can we get those on the dates we want? Okay, good. Well, now we know what day we're going to go to the party. And I think they're scheduling around that. So I think these October dates are going to start filling up. As I tell my clients and I tell everybody, when you know you're going to go ahead and get your tickets. They are non-refundable. They're non-transferable. So you have to know you're going to go. Don't do it let's go and get the tickets. We'll hold on to them. And if we don't go, we get a refund. Maybe. No, you can't.
Nope.
And I don't even want to say that Disney will transfer your tickets because that's a no on them. They call them and talk to them maybe, but no, they won't do it. So if you buy your tickets, you're going or you're going to have tickets in your hand. So, but if you know you're going to go, I would go ahead and get your tickets just as an FYI there. So yeah, the party is starting. Jen, right now the Haunted Mansion is closed. Some sites out there like to tell you that the Haunted Mansion is closed indefinitely. Actually, no, it's closed for a couple of days because I think the Hatbox Ghost is coming. We know this for sure.
We know that. They announced that.
We know that. And I think they are starting to put in the process of putting the Hatbox Ghost
Very
in.
possible.
If I had to theorize, they closed it for a couple of days because there might be a few things they had to do to put it in later that would keep the ride from working. So you close it for down in a couple of days and then, do that part of it, open it right back up because where Donald's chair is, one of the first scenes, it's going to be right there. So the Hatbox Ghost, as we know, is coming and the Haunted Mansion will be opening back up on August the 11th. So, I mean, if you're in town on August the 11th, you can go to a party. There's the newly imagined, which is probably a little touch up of the Haunted Mansion. Minionland is going to be opening. So a lot of things happening on August the 11th. August 11th. Yeah. So one of the things I didn't actually know was happening until today was that Disney Springs is getting rid of valet parking. Did you know this, by the way?
I saw that.
I
just saw the article about it. I was like, oh, okay. But
yeah,
like, is this terrible for me to say like, I've never actually used valet parking at Disney Springs.
I don't use valet parking either. Well, here's the thing, and the article that I'm reading is saying that one of their theories is that it wasn't that popular. Like they were having a whole section of places that nobody was really paying for because it was like $20 a day to park in the lot next to the entrance. Yeah. Nobody was parking there, and so
because it's free parking and it's not the parking garage is actually pretty easy to use because it'll show you this many spaces on this level, and then it has like the green light over the open spaces. So it's like I wasn't going to pay for valet parking there.
Right. So one of the theories I think is that people are saying that maybe Disney's going to do a preferred parking. Like if you want to pay for preferred parking, you pay like an extra $20 or whatever.
Okay.
Just for that one section, rather than having valets out there spending all day out there trying to park cars and having to pay the valets, you just pay the money and go park towards the front if you want. I very seldom drive to Disney Springs, but I've never had a situation where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so far. You just walk the garage and walk in. I mean, it is what it is. So it's all good. It's all fine. Looking at my list here. Hey, Campbell, how you doing, buddy? This is my hey. Can you say hey to everybody? Hey, hi, everybody. Campbell, can you tell everybody what your favorite ride at Disney World is?
Monorail.
Monorail. You love the monorail? What else do you love at Disney World? Oh, he's out.
That's it.
Oh, hold on. If you're watching on YouTube, he's going to show you what he loves. Hold on 1 second, and we'll just take this background off. Campbell, show the world. Show the world what you got. Show.
Wow.
There you go. Love it. Do you love your monorail?
Yeah.
Hey, what else do you love at Disney World? What else? You can talk. Tell me. Train. And you love the Skyliner?
Yeah.
Yes, he loves the Skyliner too. And in our home, and this is going to have an aside, in our home right now, as I'm looking out above the living room, there is a Disney monorail. There are a couple of Skyliner little toys set up on the side. There are at least 2 or 3 trains just sitting around here. There's another monorail here on the floor. He just loves all of those things. Of course, your hubs, Brady was generous enough to donate to my son's train fund a vintage Lionel train, which is really, really cool. He has that sitting right over here, all like lined up in a row. So more news with Haunted Mansion closing and reopening up. I have to ask you, Jen, I'm going to ask you these 4 things. Okay. Do you think these will reopen. These are things that have been closed for a long time. Now, we know Galactic Star Cruiser is not going to open in its old form.
Yeah, we know that. Okay,
we know
correct.
that. We know it's gone, right? And we know the Disney Enchantments, that's gone too. So you'll see articles that are like currently closed.
No,
like, why are
it's gone.
They're not coming back. It's gone.
It's right.
Do we think Blizzard Beach is going to reopen?
Well, yeah.
Do we think? Because it hasn't reopened at all this summer. Do you think it's just they don't need to? Or they do the whole
well, if you recall, like Typhoon Lagoon was down for months whenever they were doing that big overhaul after COVID. So I would be shocked if they did not bring back Blizzard Beach. That doesn't mean they're not going to do some overhauls, some work on it. I don't think it's going anywhere. And
I feel like that's too big of an area to not reopen.
Correct.
That's a park.
That's a whole park.
So,
and it's not like, and I feel like if they were going to close it, listen, we didn't have any closing merch. We didn't, I mean, none of the signs of, so I just think it's an extensive overhaul. I don't know that it's ever had a super extensive overhaul since it opened. I mean, other than just like the seasonal, obviously they take down Typhoon for a month, they take down Blizzard Beach for a month, so.
I agree with that because they do the seasonal, they'll close one park and open the other, and they close one they work on, and they kind of flip flop. Oh, of course, of the winter they do that too. They'll close one for December, January, whatever, while they refurb. It's been an extended refurb for Blizzard Beach, and I agree. I think it will reopen. To me, it's a little odd it hasn't reopened because it's a
melty hot summer.
Exactly, but it may not. I mean, park attendance is not down a little bit. So let's be honest. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. So maybe the demand is just not there for having two parks open. I don't know.
But also, if it did need an overall, like if it needed that, a substantial, this is the time to do it. Then this is the time to do it. So at some point, it's going to have to happen. So
I think that yes, we are a couple of years removed from COVID, but I still think we are finishing the stretches of COVID, like those little bits and pieces that like still aren't happening yet, because I think there's still a little bit lingering from that. Which brings me to my next one, 1900 Park Fair. Do you think it's going to reopen at Grand Floridian? Maybe with the refurb they're doing.
I mean, I would say I would hope to hear something after this refurbishment, because they are on the main building now, which is, a bit more extensive, a bit more intrusive. Now we just had, listen, Agent Alexa just stayed there. She was fine. Like, still a great resort, and the refurbed rooms are gorgeous. So, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like that one's in a hurry to be coming back. And I don't know if it's because it's a buffet. I don't know what the reasoning behind it is, but that is the last holdout that I can think of. On Disney property. And that was a character meal, of course, different for breakfast than lunch and dinner was different. Well, actually just breakfast and dinner, because it was like breakfast into lunch. It was like brunch.
Yeah. Well, of course they had the Royal Gala, where for breakfast it was like an English breakfast, because they had Mary Poppins, Who and Tigger,
Mad Hatter.
Alice and Mad Hatter, which seemed like an odd combination of characters, but it all was based on British characters. For dinner, it was Cinderella's Royal Gala, where you met the prince. You had a Lady Tremaine and the stepsisters. Fairy Godmother I never saw her there. I mean, she was never a regular character there. No, she might have showed up every now and then.
She used to be at actually Grand Floridian Cafe before they moved the Cinderella characters over. They would show up at the cafe. Susie and Perla, the mice would show up. But yeah, I did not really see her at the gala, the Fairy Godmother.
So I think that I don't know that. I'm hoping it reopens as a character breakfast or character meal, because I think those characters were. I think that's what set that apart. Yes, the food is good, but it's one of those that was not a destination. Yes. Strawberry soup was great, but you can also get that. I want to say at a couple other places now.
They might have moved it elsewhere, but like pre-COVID, it was like you went there for the strawberry soup.
Yeah, exactly. But like, to me, it's not. It was not a destination without the characters. Like I would not take a time out of my day to go over there and hit the Magic Kingdom, later on in the morning, just to do that without the characters. So I'm hoping the characters do make a return. Trattoria El Forno is fantastic over at Boardwalk, but the characters is what made it. We had Rapunzel, Flynn, Ariel, and Eric. The restaurant's open, but the characters are not back yet. So I'm hoping they will return at some point soon. All right, next one on my list here, The Voyage of the Little Mermaid. Do you think that's going to reopen in Hollywood Studios?
I would be surprised. I don't think so. It's had its run. It's been around since the 90s. Like, I mean, was that an original? I don't know that it was an opening day, but it was. I don't know it was opening. It was pretty close. It's been there for a long time.
it's one of those, like, I'm surprised they haven't reopened it just seasonally, like they did with Stitch's Great Escape, or attractions that they kind of are on their last legs. They open them just for a certain amount of time, or when it's really super busy in the park, like that'd be like something with open over the holidays to kind of that people eater to kind of get people, out of the walkways and stuff. But again, like Blizzard Beach, it may just not have been a need for it.
I don't, because I even think of like the Wonders of Life Pavilion that kind of sat there for a while before. Right. Before it went away.
Did the signage stay up for a while even after it was closed? Or
I'm trying to remember, because that was a long time ago now, but I feel like it was up for a while. Okay. So, I mean, not that they couldn't revamp it or do something else with it, but now Little Mermaid does have an attraction in Magic Kingdom. So I don't know that we need the show at the studios. I feel like they maybe have ideas to repurpose that space for something else. Of course, and it is announced anything, but
it's kind of out of place because you used to have the animator studio right there where you go in, do the animation, meet some characters. The Mermaid was right here. The Mermaid Ride was all kind of Disney Junior, so it's all about the play area, which was kind of thing. Now it's Launch Bay. Is Launch Bay even open? I have no idea.
Launch Bay is not. Launch Bay is open, but it's just. It's interesting though because it's out of place with Star Wars.
Yeah, that's completely out of place to me. But also, I think that's one that even easier than Little Mermaid. I think that's just an opening, like you walk through and see stuff and whatever and meet some characters. That's an easy thing for Disney just to open up and be like, hey, y'all, come on, get out of the heat. Come on in. Right. And so, I think that it wouldn't shock me. Both of those attractions changed to something else to blend it in. As long as you don't touch One Man's Dream. One Man's Dream cannot be touched. It has to stay where it is.
I actually love One Man's Dream.
Yeah, I do too. A lot of Disney fans do. Final one here. Speaking of Hollywood Studios, do we think that the Jedi training will ever return to Hollywood Studios?
I know a lot of people hope it will.
Yeah, the stage is still there. The whole setting is still there.
And that was like super duper popular. Here's the thing. I almost feel like if it does, I don't know that it's going to look the same.
Right.
I don't know about that, because then you also think like, well, would it make more sense to have it in Galaxy's Edge or,
Yeah,
I don't know. That's
but it was part of Star Tours. Like, I mean, it wasn't part of it, but I mean, it was that attraction right there. Star Tours was right there.
Right.
The Jedi training was right there. It was all right there together. And I still feel like you could have that all together still and make that little corner of Star Wars there as well. I think that would work. Because I think Disney has put forth the story that the First Order and the sequel trilogy, that's kind of the setting for Galaxy's Edge, whereas the Star Tours is more of the original OG. And the OG and the other characters and stuff, even though you get some sequel trilogy in there. I think it's kind of a mess with the storytelling right now. Like, I think they're trying to figure out exactly what stories they want to tell. It's just a lot going on. And, I think a lot of fans are probably not too concerned with canon, but at the same time, it's like, let's get some cohesiveness here. Come on, the Bob, you can do this. Come on, the Josh, you can do this. So final thing here on the news, dining has been changed up a little bit here.
It has.
Where I didn't see much differences this morning. So maybe it's already changed. I didn't see it. I don't know. But apparently, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, on this, but apparently you will now be able to see when you go into do dining, you'll be able to see everything available for a time versus traditionally.
Because it was like they'd pick like three times basically. Yep. So it would be like, oh, hey, I want it for dinner. So it might give you like 6:15. 6:45, something like that.
Oh, and sometimes it was odd because, if you wanted sci-fi for lunch, you'd go in there and it would give you 10:45, 11:30, and like 2. And you're like, can we have something like 12:30-ish, whatever? We got something going on.
And then if you would search for 12:30, like you would pop up, but it's like, so why?
Yeah, exactly. Or you pick the 11:30 and you go back in to change it, and then like 4 options show up for 12:30 or whatever. So now all your options are going to show up, which are really, really good. Again, I don't know if that's happened yet. I know it was coming to this and Disneyland.
And I didn't do any this morning, so I did
some this morning, but it all looked the same as usual.
Okay.
But I also, when I do dining, like you, Jen, you move very fast, go to specifically what you want. I don't linger around. I'm like, I wonder what the Plaza restaurant has open. I'm going, there's space. There's Cinderella's Royal Table. Right. There's Sci-Fi Cafe. There's Tusker House. Boom, 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 boom. And then I'm done. And then afterwards, I'm like, it's 5:15 in the morning. I don't even know what I just did. I'm going back to bed. So
exactly. That'll just be something to like experiment with, in our spare time.
Right. So a lot of Disney news coming out there. And of course, there's more to come as well because D23 is coming up, or Destination D.
Destination D.
Yeah. Destination D is coming up very, very soon. And we got more Disney stuff on the horizon. But let's talk about the movies. I do want to mention that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is now on Disney Plus. So if you want to watch that, it's now available if you haven't seen it. Little Mermaid.
At this point, I'm just waiting till I go through. I'm just going through.
There you go. Little Mermaid is going to be streaming on September the 6th. The new Little Mermaid that came out and made the theaters. If you want to see it on the big screen at home, September the 6th on Disney Plus. So you can mark that on your calendars as well. Speaking of movies, Jen, let's talk about Haunted Mansion. Haunted Mansion was released. Let me go to the glasses here. Let's see. Haunted Mansion was released a couple of weeks ago in late July, starring Lakeith Williams. Lakeith Stanfield. I'm sorry about that. Directed by Justin Simeon, and I want to give a little background here on who some of these people are. Justin Simeon was a director of. Let's see. He directed a movie called Bad Hair and a movie called Dear White People, which are both actually fairly amusing films. They're satirical, and they kind of sound a little, I guess, political, but they're both fairly satirical. This movie stars Lakeith Stanfield, Tiffany Haddish, Owen Wilson, Danny DeVito, Rosario Dawson, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Jared Leto as the Hatbox Ghost. Essentially, and I'll run through no spoilers, but I'll run through the plot real quick.
Right. Yeah,
Ben Mathias, he's a physicist. He's developing a camera to detect ghosts in dark matter. He meets a young woman who he falls in love with. They get married, and tragically, something happens to her. As we cut to him living just a terrible, shallowed life, and he's doing tours in New Orleans, just having a terrible time. And he gets recruited and hired by a priest, played by Owen Wilson, quote unquote priest, played by Owen Wilson, to come over to Gracie Manor, who living there now is Rosario Dawson and her young son, played by Chase Dillon. That's his name. I wanted to make sure
he did a great job too.
He did a great job. He was really funny. Great job. He was very, very funny. A few cameos here. Winona Ryder has a cameo. Daniel Levy. That one shocked me. I was like, what? A comedian, Joe Coy, is in this. Mary Lou Henner is at the very beginning. I saw her and I'm like, I didn't know she was in this film.
I did the same thing. I was like,
a cameo.
What?
A quick cameo. So again, they go through this whole thing, and there's a whole trick to this movie where once you go into the mansion, the ghosts then follow you home. So they have to go back to this mansion to deal with this problem. Danny DeVito gets involved in the process. Tiffany Haddish's character, she's like a psychic and medium. She gets involved in it, and there's a whole little basically they have to battle the Hatbox Ghost, who's the big bad of the whole movie itself. There is a ton of Easter eggs in this movie for the Haunted Mansion. There are so many references
from both coasts. Yes, not just Disney World, Disneyland.
Yeah, I mean a lot of references from the three ghosts, the hitchhiking ghosts, to Donald's chair kept popping up, like that you see in Haunted Mansion, the graveyard scene, Madame Leota and the orb, the glass ball, just the crystal ball. All there's so many things in here.
And it's like if you think about it, suddenly it would be like, oh, there that is. Okay,
yeah, exactly. I mean, and a lot of it sometimes is just coming so fast. It's like, oh, there's that. Oh, there's that.
Don't look away, basically. Yeah, you'll miss something.
If you told me there was 104 references to Haunted Mansion, I would believe you. I don't know that there's that many, but I would believe you easily.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So, Jen, tell me, what did you think of the movie itself? Give you anything I missed in the plot of the overall synopsis, and what do you think?
I think that was a good description of the synopsis. I think. I mean, I would say this was far better than the Eddie Murphy version. Sorry, Eddie.
I've not seen that one actually. I need to see it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
I did watch it, and was I entertained? Yes. Was it a great movie? No.
Those two things don't have to be mutually exclusive. Being entertained, having a good movie. It
doesn't have to be this. Right. So this, I would say, was I would call this a more cohesive storyline. You could tell that they did their research on a lot of different things. The way they tied a lot of things together was super interesting to see. Of course, loving the nods to the rides, like I said, I mean, just all the different, you go, oh, there's that. Oh, there's that, and even how they bring in, I don't want to, how they bring in the exteriors, let's just say, on both coasts. That's all I'll say about it. But it's interesting how they get that in there, because I mean, and this is definitely not when you first see the exterior of it's Disneyland, and you're like, oh, which makes sense because that's New Orleans Square. So, obviously it being set in New Orleans, it makes sense that would be the exterior that is, but then you're like, oh, I wonder where. And then you're like, oh.
So originally this movie was taken on by Guillermo del Toro, who has done a lot of.
Yeah,
he's
done
a great
ton.
director. He did Shape of Water, which we also call Grinding Nemo, from a few years ago. He did Pan's Labyrinth, which I've not seen, but I've heard it's incredible. He's done a lot of movies. He's a great director. He actually replied to one of my tweets one time a long time ago, so I hold that as on my resume of coolness.
Good job.
But he was attached to it in 2010, which is when we started hearing word that a new Haunted Mansion movie was going to be made. And it kind of went into what's called developmental hell. And if you don't know what that term means, that's basically any project that's been lingering around for years. And there are some movies out there that are really popular now that have been in development for 20 years, just bounced around from studio to that studio will buy the rights, this studio will buy the rights. George Clooney is attached, and then Denzel Washington's attached, and then, Elle Fanning's attached, and then it's just all over the place. It's crazy. So this one was there for like 10 years until Justin Simien and Disney finally stepped in and said, hey, let's make this movie. Set in New Orleans as well. And I agree with you. I had fun with this. This was entertaining. This is not the greatest movie I've seen. It's not my top 10.
No, but it was entertaining. Absolutely.
Yes. Unlike you, who I don't think have seen 33 movies in the last 5 years. I've seen 33 movies from this year. It's not my top 10. But I laughed several parts. I laughed at the key points. The cast is fantastic.
The cast is fantastic. Absolutely.
I love Rosario Dawson in anything she's in.
Yes. She was
Owen
great.
Wilson is fun.
I always love Owen Wilson.
Owen Wilson is great. Of course, he's Lightning McQueen. Keith Stanfield has done a lot of stuff that you probably have seen. People out there. He was heralded in a movie a few years ago called Jesus and the Black Messiah. He was in the original Knives Out.
I love Knives Out.
He was really known for Get Out from a few years ago. That he was one of the main characters in that. And so he is he's an actor who's really kind of on the come up right now, really doing a lot of stuff. And I was really happy to see him in this movie. Great cast. I like this movie quite a bit. Here's the thing, and we won't go too far into detail because I don't want to spoil it. It's darker than I expected.
Agreed. It really is darker. It is.
This is so as a movie guy, I've had a lot of people come to me and ask me specifically about the Barbie movie. And that's an entirely different discussion, but they say, would you take your kids to see it? Okay. And I give them my opinion. If I had a daughter, I probably would let her, whatever. If my son doesn't go to the movies very often, he's not ready for the movies. He's not ready to sit down for 2 hours in the quiet.
Sure. That's a lot. Yeah.
And that's fine. And this movie is a 2-hour movie. It's a little longer.
It's over. It's 2 hours and 2 minutes. It is not short.
But I probably wouldn't let my kid
young
12 or 13 or under go to this movie. It's PG-13 for a reason.
It is PG-13.
There is some, again, I don't want to dive too into it. I don't want to make it sound dreary and drastic, but there is some dark stuff into this. There is a lot of there's some seances going on, and depending on your faith, there may be some things that conflict with that. And again, I don't want to dispel it don't go see this movie,
even there is some stuff that could be for younger children. Could be scary. It could be scary.
There are a few parts I'm like, and I actually watched this because again, I've told the story before. I was 7 years old the first time I went to the Haunted Mansion, and I cried all the way through because I was petrified of ghosts and darkness. At 7 years old, horrible. If I were 7 seeing this movie, there are parts of this movie that I would be like, I would have nightmares. The trees, that has the scary faces, the teeth, and the whatever as they're trying to escape. I was like, holy crap, that's awful.
Like as adults, you can separate yourself and be like, oh man, they, whatever. But as a small child, you could see where it was a little scary.
Yeah. So I would invite you to reach out to myself or even Jen if you're like, okay, so I have a 10-year-old who watches these kind of movies or whatever. Can you be more? I'm happy to be more specific offline or whatever. Don't want to go into it now. I liked it. Again, it was darker than I thought. The movie is doing okay at the box office. It's slowly trucking along here because it's coming under the heels of Oppenheimer, Barbie, and Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning.
All these huge,
huge films, right?
Huge films.
And can I just say that for all the talk about Elemental being a bomb and Pixar's worst movie, that movie's making money. It has been trucking along in the top 10, top 12 for 2.5 months now. And it's just consistently
it's had staying power.
Exactly, because it's a kids movie and kids can go see it. And I mean, maybe not your young children, but kids younger than what I would recommend for Haunted Mansion or Barbie can go see Elemental and be fine. And so, it's just, if you haven't seen Elemental out there, folks, catch it at the theater. It's worth it. So anyway, any final thoughts?
That was also playing on the ship.
Oh, was it? Oh, you didn't see that one, did you?
I didn't see that one. So what was playing initially was Guardians 3, Elemental, and then Indiana Jones. But of course we were doing so many of the other activities, but then we were sitting at breakfast one morning and they announced there's the premiere of the Haunted Mansion tonight at midnight. And we're all like,
Fun.
like now did
Oh, at
not
midnight.
go
I
at
love it.
midnight. Oh, we did not
Yeah.
do the midnight because we had
Of
an
course
early excursion the next day. So we
Right.
waited though, like we found out, okay, it's going to be playing the rest of the cruise. So
it.
we'll just go like a different,
Love that. So yeah, I decide for yourself. You're the parents. Decide for yourself how
but it is PG-13, so
it's PG-13. It's a comedic ghost story. There are ghosts in this, and there are some scary moments in this, played for laughs sometimes. But if you're a young child is impressionable by this kind of thing, scared of the dark stuff, it may not be something you want to do.
Well, like
Maybe
even
go on
Sleeping,
YouTube,
even Sleeping Beauty, my niece was very scared of Sleeping Beauty as a child
scary
because
parts of that,
Maleficent is creepy, like right, like she's a scary villain.
Snow White's Scary Adventures in Disneyland is creepy as heck. So
I mean,
I get it. I get it. So I think that's a good stopping point with some news and a movie review. So we'll shut this thing down. Jen, where can we find you online to follow you to Costa Rica?
Well, you can find me at Upon a Star Jen. My personal Instagram is at Jen_Novotny. Of course, Upon a Star Travel will also be posting some of our adventures. I will be there with Agent Sarah, and we are going to be ziplining, whitewater rafting, all sorts of amazing things. It'll be so much fun.
Fun times. Find me at The Magic on a Dollar on Instagram. Find me at Magic on a Dollar and Disney on a Dollar on Facebook, of course. And you can find Upon a Star Travel in all the usual places. Find the show, the MSC podcast on all the usual places as well. We're also on YouTube, by the way. We never promote YouTube, but we're on YouTube. You can see our glorious faces. You can see Jen's beautiful face. You can see my big head as well. See my kids stepping into this episode and such. We're going to try to do more with YouTube. I know earlier in the summer, we talked about some stuff we had coming up. It's just been one of those summers, and I think a lot of people are like this, where there's just so much going on, travel and things and just stuff happening. So we're getting on the ball of all of that. We do want to do some live YouTube shows. We want to do some Patreon stuff coming up as well. So just stay tuned for that. Be patient with us. We're getting there, I promise. Jen, glad to have you back. We'll miss you next week, and hopefully we'll have you back for longer than just 1 or 2 episodes in a row the week after.
Yeah, I need to be home for a little bit, actually. So.
You do. You need to be home. You have a brand new house to take care of. And hey, those Amish people need their butter, so you got to start turning, right?
Gosh.
So for Jen, I am Dave, the Main Street Electrical Podcast. Don't forget to thank your Phoenicians.
Thank you for listening to the Main Street Electrical Podcast. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the MSE Podcast, or visit our website at themsepodcast.com. Be sure to subscribe, and may all your wishes come true.